You're listening to the Life Coaching Secrets Podcast, episode 172.
Did you know that life coaches are needed now more than ever? I'm Frank Macri, founder of Thriving Coach Academy. I've trained over 1,000 coaches and helped them launch their own successful coaching businesses. If you want to make an incredible income and impact as a coach and have a lot of fun doing it, I'll show you exactly how to get it done. This is Life Coaching Secrets.
What's up, coaches? In this episode, I'm going to talk about how to focus as an entrepreneur. I'm going to talk about the best strategies that I've used to stay on track with goals that I have for my business and what to do in this world of constant information and distraction. So I want you to think about right now, when someone calls you or texts you or emails you, do you feel like there's a part of you that has to immediately get back to them? Or do you find when you check the message or you check the email, maybe you don't respond right away, but your brain is already thinking about how you want to respond? This is one of the examples of many of how in our world today, we are flooded with distraction. So I'm going to talk about how to really keep your focus solid. Now, if you've been tuned into our podcast for a while, you notice that I took a few weeks off. A few personal exciting things are going on. I got engaged a couple of months ago. My fiance and I are planning our wedding, which is going to be in a castle. That's all I'm going to say right now, but I am planning to do an episode of the podcast to talk more about the wedding planning process and how it's actually given me lots of insight into making powerful offers, which will be helpful for all of you coaches out there. And the other big exciting news is we adopted a puppy. So we have a 4-month-old miniature dachshund. She is cream colored. She's absolutely precious. Her name is Chai. And if you're in the academy, you've probably already seen her say hello in our virtual classroom. Or if you follow us on Instagram or TikTok, you see Chai make her debut. So we've had a lot of fun in these past couple of months, just getting Chai trained and getting her used to our home and also wedding planning. And also we've had a lot of new students enroll in the academy. So if you are one of our newer students, congratulations. We're so excited to help you and get your coaching goals out into the world. So let's talk about focus. Now, a lot of people today say that they are too distracted or they don't feel like they're focused enough when it comes to their goals. And to be direct with you, oftentimes this is not the case. What's really going on is it's a lack of boundaries, it's a fear of letting people down, and it's an expectation that you must always be available to others. Okay, let me say that one more time. It's often that you're not too distracted or focused, like there's nothing inherently wrong with you. It's that you may lack boundaries, have a fear of letting people down, or have an expectation on yourself that you always need to be available to others. Now, when it comes to the day-to-day decisions that we make, there are some studies that estimate that the average adult makes over 35,000 decisions a day. And these are all the little decisions we make to all of the bigger decisions. Now, I don't know how this was calculated, but I think whether or not that number is exact, it does indicate that there are many decisions that we are making throughout our day. And when you are growing a coaching business, it is important for you to have as much decision-making power as possible, because you're going to need to make lots of decisions when it comes to growing your business and putting yourself out there. So every time you're draining your energy from all these little decisions that you make every day, all these little distractions that you allow to get in the way of your business, this all takes away the power that you can put back into your coaching goals. So I'm going to go over a few rules that you might have that cause you to struggle being focused. I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why so many people out there have some difficulty with this. And I'm going to give you some specific steps to get yourself focused. All right, so let's go into the rules. The first rule that many people have is that you always need to be available. So this is when you believe that you must constantly be accessible to all people in your lives, your family, your friends, etc. And even just strangers who might send you a text or an email or an anonymous phone call. So this is not true. You don't have to always be available to everybody at all times. Instead, I want you to consider that you get to decide when you are available to others. You have the ability to choose when you want to devote your time to yourself and to other people. See yourself as the architect of your calendar. So rather than just giving away all of your time and energy to others by always being available, remind yourself, you don't always have to be available. This is going to be very difficult to be successful in a business if you think you always have to be available to everybody all the time. The second rule that holds people back is thinking that you need to give an immediate response. So this is big. This is what I was asking you in the beginning of the episode. So do you feel the need when you get an email, a text message, or a phone call that you have to get back to that person right away? The reality is most messages we receive do not need to be responded to right away. And often they can actually be put to the side so you can stay focused on what you're currently dedicating yourself to, and then have a dedicated time that you respond to others. So remind yourself that you can designate specific times to check and respond to communications. You do not need to respond right away or immediately. You can determine specific times to respond to the communications that you have. And the third rule that comes up often here is the rule that you can't say no. So you might feel obligated to say yes to every request that that someone's asking you about, or every opportunity that someone's laying in front of you. You might feel like this sense of guilt or shame or selfishness if you were to say no. And we're going to dive deeper into this, but I want you to know, as a rule to hold for yourself, if you find that this one holds you back, is that just because something feels guilty, bad, selfish, or wrong, it doesn't mean that you are guilty, bad, selfish, or wrong. Okay? You are allowed to say no. No is a complete sentence. Just because someone asks you a request, no matter how close they are in your life, no matter how much you've said yes to them in the past, it is essential for you to honor yourself by saying no at times. So let's talk about the two main fears that often cause people to become very distracted. One is the fear of letting others down, and the other is the fear of missing out. So let's start with the first, the fear of letting others down. This is very commonly found in people that wear the people-pleasing mask. So in Thriving Coach Academy, we talk about the masks that hold people back and how you could coach people if you recognize these themes in your life. This one is very common. So you have a fear that you're going to let others down if you don't respond immediately, if you say no to them, if you don't make yourself available to them at all times. So you might find that you're constantly trying to satisfy the needs of others and satisfy the requests of others. And this often happens and comes at the expense of your own priorities. So that's how you know that you're people pleasing, when you are saying yes to others at the expense of your own goals, dreams, and priorities. So one of the reasons that people will have this fear is because your self-worth is tied into having others approving of you. So remember that your worth is not determined by others' approval of you. Sometimes you have to let people down to lift yourself up. Okay, I'll say that again. Sometimes you need to let people down in order to lift yourself up. Otherwise, you just keep dragging yourself down in the process. Okay, your worth is inherent. It is something that is non-negotiable. If people don't approve of you, if they judge you, that does not impact your self-worth. Okay, boundaries are also going to be essential. So I'm going to talk about later in this episode how you can set personal boundaries. So that way you can have a way to know people, how you are willing to engage with them and how you're not willing to engage with them. Next is having a way to prioritize your own needs and goals. So how strongly do you feel you prioritize your own needs and goals right now? If you were to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is you put your needs and goals at the forefront of your life, you're honoring them, you're devoting the time and energy that those goals need to move forward. And a 1 out of 10 would mean that you're completely neglecting your goals and needs altogether. So where would you put yourself on that scale? And then what would it look like if you were to bump yourself up by 1 or 2 points? Consider what that would look like for you. What kind of boundaries would you need to be setting? And then the other way to overcome this fear of letting others down is to cultivate some assertiveness. So this means having the ability to say no when necessary without feeling a sense of guilt. Okay, you might simply say, nope, I'm not available, or no, right? No is a complete answer. And then finally, you can simply give no response to somebody. No response is a response. So you are not obligated to respond to every single person that requests your communication. So that's how to address that fear of letting others down. Let's talk about the other fear, which is a big one. It's the fear of missing out. So one of the ways you know that you might have this fear is if you are constantly checking social media, you're checking the news, you're looking for all the different trends, you want to stay updated on all of the things that are happening. I feel like this one happens a lot more in a year like this, where in the United States, it's an election year. I feel like there's this constant obsession around needing to know every little thing that happens within politics. Now, we live in a world today where there is information overload, right? We have the privilege of having access to so much information, when in previous generations, it was harder to have access to a lot of information. With all of this access we have to information, you must have a strategy to manage the information that you receive. You must manage your intake of information. If you don't have a process for this, you are going to be overloaded with information all the time. So you don't want to consume information mindlessly. This is going to lead to information overload. And also, so much of the information out there nowadays, unfortunately, is misinformation, right? So if you let yourself just consume all the information as it shows up in your feeds, and you are constantly checking all the different news sources, this is going to dramatically reduce your focus and your productivity. It's also going to stress you. It's going to drain you and lower your energy. So sometimes people wonder why they are so tired at the end of the day. And there could be lots of reasons for this, but have you ever considered that one of those reasons could be because of all the information overload that you're experiencing and all of these different distractions that you allow to get in your way, right? It is draining to constantly switch gears and focus on one thing to then focus on another and then go back to focusing on the original thing, rinse and repeat. That is exhausting. You will regain so much of your energy and focus back when you can manage the information that you receive and how and when you receive it. Now, I know that this might be a comment that some people might disagree with, and that's okay. But the majority of the news out there does not impact your day-to-day life. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be informed at all. So this is not a black or white. What I am saying is that if you cut down your consumption of information, if you cut it in half, you will still be informed and you will still gain back the most valuable resource that you have in your life, which is your time. Many people are giving away so much of their day-to-day hours to information that does not have a direct impact on their day-to-day life. There are many people that are obsessed with the news and the gossip and all the crime that's happening in the world. And it's not your fault if you found yourself caught up in this in the past. There are actually psychological reasons why people do have an obsession with news. There's part of it is a survival instinct, because historically, staying informed is one of the ways that allowed people to avoid potential danger. And also, it was a part of a social dynamic, like being able to gossip. This was, in the past, really crucial for survival. And this is an instinct that still persists, which drives people to stay extremely alert to all of the things happening in their environment. So there is this feeling like you feel like you're safe by being informed, okay, by knowing all of the potential threats out there. Now, also, when it comes to things like celebrity gossip, right? I think all of us probably have some kind of celebrity gossip that we get ourselves mixed up in at times. And one of the reasons, the psychological reason behind this, is that when we follow celebrity gossip, it's a way for us to escape our own lives and feel connected to maybe a more glamorous seeming lifestyle of a celebrity, or just find comfort in the fact that celebrities face challenges too. All right, so celebrity gossip is often one of those escapes, but it takes you away from really focusing on what it is that you want to create in your own life and the discomfort that you might feel in the process of achieving your goals. Like one of our current students, her name is Sasha. She is incredible. She's already running her own coaching business, and she's not even certified yet, but she's got a lot of momentum that she's building. And she shared in one of our weekly calls that even though she has a lot going on in her life, she realized when she really assessed how she was consuming information, she was able to cut out about an hour of her day that she would typically devote to watching TV or gossiping with her friends over the phone. She eliminated that so she can put that back into her business. And that's been something that's made a huge difference in the success and growth that her business has been able to create, just by trimming off that time that she was devoting to doing something that was more of an escape or more fear-based. Like I'm so afraid of what's happening in the world. I need to know all of the different things, or I'm going to escape to follow what's going on in this celebrity's life to avoid my own life. So she cut that right out, and she devoted and gave herself so much more focus and productivity. Now, the last psychological reason that people often want to know all of the news and all the gossip and all the crime is because we as humans have an innate curiosity about what's going on in the world around us. Okay, we like discovering information, and it satisfies our curiosity to know what's going on. Now, remember, you don't have to cut off any source of news that you receive, but if you were to even slice it in half, right, just trim it down, you will still be informed about the major events happening in the world. You'll still be aware, while at the same time prioritizing really the information you need and prioritizing the goals that you have as well. So I want you to think for a moment, what sources of information are truly essential for your own growth and your own success? What sources of information are essential for your own growth and success? And how can you limit the intake of that non-essential information? How could you limit the intake of that non-essential information? Okay, so that is one of the ways to reduce all of the information overload. I want to leave you with some specific strategies you can do to also keep your focus throughout the day. Okay, strategy number 1 is to turn off your phone's notifications. Okay, so I will every single day when I look at my phone, there will be at least one random phone number that calls me. There will be at least one random person that texts me whose number is not saved in my phone, or there'll be at least one company that will email me, even though I never gave them permission to email me, right? I'm sure that a lot of you can relate to this. Now, imagine if you were to answer every single call that your phone received, right? There's picking up the phone, you know it's not someone that's already saved in your phone, and then you might say, you have the wrong number, or I'm not interested. Then you hang up the phone, and then you start to wonder why that person called you and how they got your number, and you get all frustrated about it. So it's not just the minute that you might answer the phone and tell someone that you don't want to talk with them or you're not interested. Then it's all of the thoughts that you're having after the fact, which takes you away from your productivity and your focus. So instead of dealing with all of that, just turn off notifications on your phone. If you get random people calling or texting you, do not answer. Even if friends are calling you, you don't have to answer every single friend or family member as they call. I have one friend, I've been friends with her for many, many years. She loves to call me on her lunch break, which is around noon her time. And that is a time when I am not on lunch break. It's a time when I'm devoting myself to other things. And I never answer the phone when she calls. She'll continue to do it. Sometimes she'll stop. And there's no guilt. There's no issues. I call her back at a time that works for me, or we just figure out a time that works for both of us. Okay, so just because your phone rings, don't feel like you have to immediately answer. Okay, you're allowed to let it go to voicemail and keep focusing on what you are devoting yourself to. Ideally, you turn off the sound, you turn off the notifications so you don't even notice when someone calls or texts you at all. There are so many contacts in my phone. I set it where I will not have a banner pop up if someone texts me. Only when I open my messaging application do I see all of the text messages that come in. Yes, you've got to be this granular with it. You've really got to assess yourself and see all the different times in your day where your attention is suddenly being captured by something outside of yourself. So all those unsolicited calls, just let them go to voicemail. Don't entertain any of them. You're going to save yourself so much time. Even applications on your phone, sometimes those will give you notifications. I remember when I was using Duolingo last year, learning Spanish. If you've ever used that app, you know that they will pop in your phone notifications every hour and they'll say, hold on a second, do you have 10 minutes to devote to learning this language? Or you better hurry up before you lose your daily streak. So Duolingo is one of those apps that is really, really good at distracting you and getting your attention onto them. And I'm sure you have other apps like that. So you can simply turn those notifications off. I'm telling you, if you take 5-10 minutes to do that, you're going to regain hours of productivity throughout your week. You're going to regain so much focus. Okay, so incorporate all this. Do not disturb periods are also very helpful. All right, so you can have your phone set where there's a do not disturb setting on a lot of phones these days where your phone will automatically not let messages or phone calls come through. So you can set the do not disturb setting to make sure that no one's distracting you. Next is boundaries. Okay, so I want to talk more about boundaries. It is necessary to set boundaries with people in your life. Otherwise, because you really do need to teach people how to treat you. All right. And boundaries are in place because you want someone in your life. It's not because you want to push someone out of your life. Sometimes you might feel bad because you might associate a boundary with like you're trying to keep someone away. No, boundaries are about you wanting someone in your life in a way that is acceptable and healthy for the relationship, in a way that works for you. Okay. It gives people a framework for how you want to be treated. So the more you can set boundaries, you're going to have not only more respectful and supportive relationships, but you're also going to have way more focus. Now, if someone is offended by your boundaries, if they're offended if you tell them that, you don't want them to call you every day, or you don't want them to text you all the time, if they're offended by those boundaries, then those people are probably the reasons that you need boundaries in the first place. So just keep that in mind. Okay, one of the other powerful ways to stay focused is by making decisions ahead of time. This one is really big. So as I shared in the beginning, there are lots of decisions that we make in our day-to-day life. We want to conserve your decision-making power for your business. There are many decisions you can make ahead of time, such as what to wear. So for a long time with my business, I would have a particular uniform that I would wear every single day. And even now, I have just a very a small selection of shirts or polos, a small selection of pants or shorts, and I don't have to think about it when I wake up and I get myself all ready for the day and get dressed. I don't even have to process, okay, what do I want to wear today? What's an outfit that's going to look good? I could easily get wrapped up and exhausted just by planning an outfit. So decide ahead of time what you want to wear and consider having outfits or uniforms that you can easily get yourself into without having to think about it. It's also helpful to plan ahead of time what you're going to eat. Okay, so think about how much you can distract yourself. If you're suddenly hungry, you don't know what you're going to eat, then you've got to figure out if you have the proper food for whatever recipe you want to prepare or where you want to order food from, and that could easily take away a lot of your focus. So decide ahead of time what it is that you want to eat, what it is that you want to wear. This will give you a lot more energy back into your day. Next is to have focus-enhancing music. Okay, this might be really big, especially if you're in an environment where there might be some distracting noise, or you just find that you don't do well with silence. So there are so many focus enhancing playlists. You can find them for free on Apple Music, on Spotify, on YouTube. These may be a game changer for you. All right. So look into focus enhancing music and consider using noise canceling tools as well. If you find that maybe the music is not helpful for you, or you still have other distracting noises in the background, there are different headphones that you can wear that have noise canceling features that'll allow you to get all the background noise out, so you can just have the silence that you prefer, or just hear the focus enhancing music that you want to listen to. All right. When it comes to your email is just like the phone. You might feel once you see an email pop in, you've got to immediately reply back. Only check your email at designated times in the day rather than constantly monitoring it. Right? It might be an interesting experiment for you to try with yourself to see how many times you check your phone and how many times you check your email throughout the day. Think about how powerful it would be if you had 1 or 2 dedicated times in your day where you respond to texts and emails. Maybe it's a 10-minute window in the morning and then a 10-minute window at the end of your day, right? You have dedicated times to check your email and phone rather than constantly doing it. And then finally, having a dedicated workspace. Okay, so if you have a dedicated space that you want to use for work, you might have a home office or a space that you go to. This helps to signal your brain when you get into that space, okay, it is time to focus. You might find that if you're trying to work in all these different places, your brain finds it difficult to go into focus mode or productive mode. So have a dedicated space where you decide that you want to focus and get things done. All right. So in summary, those strategies that I just went over is have a way to turn off those notifications. Don't answer your phone. Set boundaries with people that you want to set boundaries with. Have focus enhancing music or noise canceling tools. Limit your email time to certain moments of the day. Have a dedicated workspace, and remember the impact of constraining your choices, right? All of this is about choice constraint. So you're taking all the decisions you have in the day and you are reducing all those decisions so you're not getting fatigued or exhausted from all these little decisions you haven't made. And instead you constrain it. Okay. And the other tip I shared earlier was to make those decisions ahead of time on what to wear, on what to eat. All right. So that's what I got in this episode on having focus for any of your goals, especially if you've got goals to be a successful entrepreneur. Thanks so much for listening to this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, would you like access to powerful coaching tools you can use on yourself and clients right away? For being a listener of the podcast, I'm giving you a VIP guest pass to get a sneak peek into my coach training program. Inside, you'll learn our coaches' secret tool they use to transform their clients' lives. And you'll also get a training on how to launch a coaching business. Just head over to www.thrivingcoachacademy.com/VIP to get started. I'll see you on the inside.